Hey yo, welcome back. Welcome back. This is your boy Rayno Jamal, and this is episode 4 of Kendrick Lamar versus Drake retrospective reactions. And this is your first time here. Let me go ahead and catch you up on what we're doing. On the 1 year anniversary of every song that dropped during this battle, I'm going to give you a retrospective reaction. So in episode 1, we talked about Like That in Kendrick Lamar's verse. Episode 2, we talked about J. Cole's 7 Minute Drill and his apology at Dreamville Fest, which was 5 days later. Then the last episode was Drake's push ups 1 year later. Now we're going to talk about Taylor Made Freestyle. Yeah. And like I said, man, look, before we get into that, I just want to thank y'all so much for tuning in, for watching, for liking the video, disliking the video, for commenting, whether you agree or disagree with what I said. I'm welcoming all forms of engagement. You feel me? This is a small YouTube channel, and all that helps. I just want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. Look, music is subjective, man. When it comes to art, entertainment, all that is subjective. I'm not going to like what you like, and I don't expect you to like what I like. That's just a fact of the matter. And you're not going to offend me if you don't like it, because at some point, you got to realize it's not that serious. You feel me? It is not that serious. I know we got a lot of defenders out here on both sides, but I'm going to just make it clear. It's not that serious. These people don't know us. You feel what I'm saying? I have a particular taste in music, and you could have a different taste in music. And guess what? We're both biased. You feel me? I'm biased towards hip hop. I'm a hip hop fan first before I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan. You know what I mean? I'm an 80s baby, 90s kid. I've been around long enough to see a lot of artists battles in a lot of different things. You know what I mean? So a lot of this stuff is not going to be serious. You're not going to hurt my feelings with saying that you disagree with what I say in the comments. The only thing that I ask though is that when you in the comments, let's just be respectful. We don't have to go into the name calling and all this other stuff just because somebody is a Kendrick Lamar fan and you a Drake fan or vice versa. It's really not that deep, y'all. Like, it's really not that deep. You feel me? We can enjoy the music, and we could also choose our sides. It is what it is. It's a rap battle. It's supposed to be divisive. It's going to make you choose a side. And if you don't choose a side, then that's you. That's you. You feel me? But let's go ahead and get into Taylor Made Freestyle because, yeah, I personally think this is when things got tricky for Drake. Now, just to make a note of something really quick. I was debating if I was going to make a note of this or not, but I think I have to just because it is a part of this situation, and it did kind of create some narratives that was kind of played on throughout this battle. After Drake dropped push-ups, Rick Ross dropped Champagne Moments. And in that song, he is the one that brought the race into the equation. He started calling Drake a white boy. He started making fun of him in those ways. I thought the song was dope. Did I think it was going to make any type of noise or cause Rick Ross to jump into the point where Drake was going to have to start responding to him the same way I think he should respond to Kendrick? No. But Rick Ross is a troll as well. He gonna do what he got to do, and he responded immediately. You feel me? I thought the beat was amazing. I was loving that beat. I like Rick Ross as an artist when he was rapping on. But you know what I mean? Look, it's Rick Ross. Officer Ricky. His whole history with 50 Cent. He was exposed to be a correctional officer. All of that stuff. It is what it is. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to make a quick note of that. In that video, he was definitely, it's been revealed now as time went on that he was definitely trolling Drake with the Hidden Hills jacket and all of those things. Look into that on your own time. But Rick Ross did make a song in a video responding to Drake almost immediately. So I just want to make a quick mention of that. But I wanted to say where we left off at is that I felt that push-ups was just mid. I thought it was okay. I thought it had a lot of corny lines when it came to him directing things towards Kendrick Lamar. He talked about his shoe size, his height. I didn't like the way that he brought up Whitney. And the reason why I didn't like the way he brought up Whitney was because of this. Drake loves to make things personal, but he can't handle when people make things personal towards him. So my thought process is this. If you don't like the fact that people bring up personal matters and bring up family members when they approach you in a battle, then you shouldn't do it. You start that and you create that rules of engagement. And then when it's made towards you, you seem to have an attitude with it. You want to call foul and say that, I'm a fan of battle rap and I study this for a living. And when you say stuff like that, it makes me not to rap no more. But what do you think is going to happen when you mention somebody's lady? I just think that's just backwards to think that, but also speaks to Drake's entitlement. You know what I'm saying? So I just thought that he should have not went that route if he wasn't prepared to handle Kendrick Lamar taking it there. Now, I also felt like Drake could have been more direct. I don't think he should have had to respond to so many people, but he did. And I'm not mad at that. I mean, that's just what he chose to do. I also thought that maybe the next song is where he was going to get a little bit more direct and start really, really going at Kendrick Lamar. And I felt like that's what Taylor Made was about. So Taylor Made did drop the same night that Push Ups officially dropped, right? Before that dropped, from the time that Push-Ups leaked up till Taylor Made, it was a lot of trolling online from Drake and his fans and hip-hop media towards Kendrick Lamar. Is he going to drop? You talked about the size 7 shoe, called him a midget. Kendrick is on the clock. He needs to say something, all this other stuff. So I remember getting a text in the group chat and the homie was like, Dre did it. He done went back to back on Kendrick. And I'm like, dang, for real? I'm like, okay, what is he saying? So let's listen to what he said. I pulled it up on Instagram, which is where he dropped Taylor Made Freestyle. And, around this time, Drake was doing a lot of trolling. He done posted up Kendrick's manager's face in his story saying, does the boy got something to drop? He was like, responding to people's comments, I think on Academics or Complex or one of those hip hop media Instagram accounts, and say, use me as he has nothing to drop button. So Drake was in troll mode. And it's a battle. This is what's going to happen. So let's get into Taylor Made Freestyle. Now, when I first saw this, I didn't really see that it was featuring Tupac and Snoop. Like I was kind of like taken back. So let's get into it.
Illuminati does rise again. You can see it in my eyes again.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you. The beat is banging. It's banging. It definitely sounds like a West Coast Dr. Dre beat. That caught me by surprise. I'm not going to lie to you. It definitely caught me by surprise. And then hearing the Tupac. Now, initially when I heard this, I was like, oh, maybe he got a beat, that Tupac was on and he kind of sampled it. He did his thing. So I was kind of taken back by the fact that I heard Tupac voice on a banging West Coast beat.
Kendrick, we need ya, the West Coast savior. Ain't great in your name, it's some hip-hop history.
Now, when I heard this, I was like, he's using AI. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. And we'll get into all of that as this go on. I thought it was clever. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought it was very clever. I thought it was witty. Definitely on this troll game. I get what he was doing. I get it. Let's continue.
If you deal with this viciously, you seem a little nervous about all the publicity. For this Canadian light-skinned doc, we need to know the baby West Coast victory, man. Call him a bitch for me. Talk about him liking young girls as a kid for me.
Now, we all know those words will come back to bite him. Man. But like I said, from initially listening to it, I'm listening intently now because now you're using Tupac's voice. I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm not lying. He rapping on here. I thought it was clever. when I heard that, I was like, okay, you're trying to take more of like an Eminem 8 Mile approach where you throw out all the things that people have said about you to disarm Kendrick from the angle that he could take towards you. So I initially and immediately got what he was trying to do by doing this. So he was doing it in a very clever way.
Heard it on the Budding Podcast, it's gotta be true. They told me the spirit of Machiavelli is alive, and the nigga under 5'5", so it's gotta be you. I would beat the whole fucking game. It was me and Snoop Dogg, had my fucking shirt off in the House of Blues. K, you gotta fuck this nigga, girl, he gotta get abused.
Now look, oh man, it began to hit me what he was doing at this point. When he said the House of Blues thing, immediately I thought back like, oh, he's basically using his West Coast heroes against him. I was like, okay, I get what you're doing. That's clever. Did I like that he used AI? No, I didn't like. I thought that was kind of corny, to be honest with you. I was just like, I mean, okay. Now, is the beat banging? Of course, the beat is banging. I think I've read here, and I'm not sure if this is to be true. For those who are, who might know the answer to this, but I heard that this beat was a beat he got during some sessions when he was working with Dr. Dre, when he was trying to write for Dr. Dre during the Detox era. As we know, that's an album that got canned. It got shelved. Dr. Dre deleted the album because he didn't like it. But during the time, and it was kind of well known that Drake will see new artists and he will bring them into the studio and have them write for him because he was trying to create Detox. So I heard that this was one of the beats that was sent to him to write to. And so this, but I also heard that this could have been a Boy Wonder beat. So I don't know. But if it is a Boy Wonder beat, I definitely wouldn't be surprised. If this is a Dr. Dre beat that came from one of those sessions, I definitely wouldn't be surprised too. But I just want to say that the beat is definitely banging. So whoever made it, they definitely killed it. And if Boy Wonder did it, then he definitely did a great job of emulating the Dr. Dre sound. Yeah, when it came down to the AI, that was kind of like, I wasn't really feeling that. And we're going to get into the reasons why. But it's very clever using Kendrick's hip-hop heroes against him.
That shit about burning tattoos, he's not amused. That's jail talk for real thugs, you gotta be you. Gotta leave this motherfucker broken and bruised before we really lose. You asked for the smoke, now I seen you too busy for the smoke. I won't lie, the people confused. Now you about to get this shit another week and fall back to home, girl, but run the numbers up. I would've refused. For these industry relationships, she not in your shoes. You supposed to be the boogeyman, go do.
Look, man, hey, Dre troll game at this point was on 100. You know what I mean? Like the things he's saying, it's kind of like, wow, okay, this is what we doing. This is where we going, huh? This is what we choosing to do. Okay. So, I just kind of laughed at some of this because I was like, oh, okay. Where is this going to go? That's why I was like, where does Snoop fit in with this? Again, I was still kind of like, first of all, you're trying to back-to-back Kendrick, and then you're going to do it with Tupac and Snoop. So, yeah, I thought it was a very interesting way of going about this.
Do what you do, unless this is a moment that you tell us it's not really you. In that case, there's nothing left to say. I just pass it to Snoop.
Nephew.
He hit him with the nephew. I thought that was hilarious.
What the fuck you really got to do? We passed you the torch at the House of Blues, and now you got to do some dirty work.
See, that's where I was referring to about how he's using his hip-hop heroes against them, because for those who know, it's a very famous, well-known story about how Kendrick did a show at the House of Blues where he was able to get the West Coast torch passed to him by Snoop. So that's why I was like, okay, this is clever. I don't like the AI, but I get what you're doing. It's very clever.
You know how to move, right? I know you never been to jail, orange jumpsuits and shower shoes. Never shot nobody, never stabbed nobody, never did nothing violent and no one. It's the homies that empower you. But still, you gotta show this fucking aisle who's boss on the West. Now's the time to really make a power move, cause right now.
So it's just what he's saying. It's like he's really trying to question who Kendrick is. You know, like you claim to be, and from Drake's perspective, you claim to be this dude, but you have never been violent. You know what I mean? So uh it's time to prove that you are who you say you are in these rap songs. But this is the thing: I've never taken Kendrick to say that he's a violent person. I think Kendrick has always told stories about his environment and the people around him, but he's never came off as if he was a gangster. Not like a gangster. Like you said, his whole thing is a good kid in a mad city. So hey, that's the angle he chose to take here on this particular song. Like I said, clever, but okay.
It's looking like you writing out the game plan on how to lose, how to bark up the wrong tree and then get your head popped in a crowded room. World is watching this chess game, but are you out of moves? That you know the DOG never fucking doubted you. But right now it seems like you posted up without a clue of what the fuck you about to do.
Now, he's making it seem like you being confused now. You confused, you maybe might be second guessing. Like, so it's like Snoop is saying, like, hey dog, we done passed you the torch. You supposed to know what to do. It seemed like you not responding is like you done planned this out right. And it looking like you about to lose. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know better than this. You know what I mean? When they give you to the baton for you to act like this and represent us this way. You know what I mean? So like I said, very clever.
Yeah, that's the truth. I'm definitely about to come around the land gang and let my fucking bowel move. Shitting on you niggas from a whole different altitude.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, I felt that part was kind of hard. You know, that whole little part right there where I'm about to make my bowels move, you know, ishing on y'all from a whole different altitude. I thought that was kind of hard. I thought that was probably the best line in this song to me. I thought that was pretty dope.
High up in the sky like I'm Howard Hughes. The first one really only took me an hour or two. The next one is really about to bring out the coward in you. But now we gotta wait a fucking week, cause Taylor Swift is your new top. And if you about to drop, she gotta approve. This girl really about to make you act like you not in a feud.
Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is kind of like my first time listening to this since then. And look, like I said, it was clever. The beat is banging, and Drake is really rapping on this joint. He's rapping. He doing his thing on it. The whole Taylor Swift angle of basically, because around this time, Taylor Swift was rumored to be dropping her album. So he's basically saying, like, you're not trying to drop because you know Taylor is finna drop. And if she dropped that, basically, like, she gonna basically take all the attention. Taylor Swift got you acting scared. And basically, we here now. We here now. So don't worry about that. Let's get to this because this is what you wanted. That's basically how he's kind of approaching Kendrick. One thing I felt like, you know, Drake could have done a little bit better. And I know it is what it is, but I felt like he could have approached the Tupac verse with actually rhyming in Tupac style. It's just like he put the AI on his voice, but still rapped his style. And the same thing with Snoop. You know what I mean? Was it effective? I mean, it was effective for the trolling aspect of it, but I just felt like it could have been creatively done if he took a little bit more time. This is my personal opinion. Does it matter? Does my opinion matter in the grand scheme of things when it comes to this battle? No. I just thought it would have been a little bit more creative if he would have rapped in the styles of Tupac and Snoop when it came to this. But as far as what he's saying when he's rapping, look, he's doing what I wanted him to do on push-ups. Be direct. Talk to Kendrick. We don't need to talk to nobody else. Talk to Kendrick. Let's go ahead and spice this up a little bit. So let's continue.
She tailor-made your schedule with Ant, you out of the loop. Hate all you corporate industry puppets, I'm not in the mood. I love it when you niggas talk loose like I'm not in the room. Since like that, your tone changed a little, you not as enthused.
Now what he's doing right here, like I said, he's feeding into the narrative that's been online. It's like, since like that, you're not enthused. Basically saying like, you just dropped that and then you just disappeared. Because that's what a lot of people were saying then. He just disappeared. You can't just do that now. Now that you outside and then Drake decided to respond, you gotta respond now. That was kind of the narrative of the time when push-ups dropped and then this Taylor Made Freestyle dropped. Mind you, now the days are starting to go, you know, between it being leaked to when this dropped, it's been over a week. You know what I mean? So now the trolling of Kendrick is being silent. He ain't said nothing. That he ain't, he ain't posted anything or anything like that online. So now the trolling is Kendrick is on the clock. Is he scared? Drake is going to get him now. This is what he wanted. All of that talk is happening. So Drake is feeding into that, giving his fans and his fan base something for them to chew on, something for them to use to try to bait Kendrick out in his fans. So, like I said, clever.
How are you not in the booth? It feel like you kinda removed. You tryna let this shit die down. Nah, not this time, nigga, you following through. I guess you need another week to figure out how to improve. What the fuck is taking so long? We waiting on you. The rest of y'all are definitely involved. Y'all getting it too. Soon as you get the courage to drop, I'm out on the loose. On the loose.
All right. That's what he said, right? He said he out on the loose. Soon as you drop and the others get the courage to drop, he out on the loose. So he was kind of expecting other people to start responding to what he was saying on push-ups because Rick Ross did, So he was kind of putting a warning to everybody else, like, yo, you drop something too, I'm gonna respond to you. And like I said, man, I'm not a Drake fan at all, to be honest. I'm not. I respect what he do, but I gotta give him respect. He don't duck smoke. When it's time to battle, he jumps in the ring and he gets in there and he's fighting. I have to give him respect for that because, like I said, he kind of showed this. A lot of the people don't respond to these type of disses like that. You know what I mean? So, look, I got to respect him for that. But the funny part about all of this is the way he came off to Kendrick as if, like, you're afraid of me. I just find that to be very interesting listening to this now. He really thought that he had Kendrick afraid of him, willing to come against this or come against me because of like popularity. I know he probably couldn't think because of skill, but maybe he thought it was because of skill. But I just thought that was hilarious and very interesting that maybe that was his mindset. Like he thought he could treat this like this was a Meek Mill situation. And as we as we find out, this was far from it. Let's go ahead and finish this up though.
Yeah, shout out to Taylor Swift. Biggest gangster in the music game right now. I moved my album when she dropped. I said that already. She about to do a Millie Rock on your head top. She got the whole PG Lang on mute like that Beyonce challenge. Y'all boys quiet for the weekend, like. I know you in that NY apartment, you struggling right now, I know it. In a notepad doing lyrical gymnastics, my boy. You better have a motherfucking quintuple entendre on that shit. Some shit I don't even understand, like, shit better be crazy. We waiting on you. Yeah.
So that's where we left off at, right? We left off with Taylor Made. I'm not gonna lie, he was trolling at a supreme level with this one. Super trolling. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't really like this that much. I thought it was clever, right? I thought it was clever. I thought it was banging. Very witty, very trolly. So this is what Drake does. I just felt, me personally, this was a huge mistake on his part. Huge mistake on his part. And some of y'all might not get this because you're not from the West Coast. So I'm gonna say it. And I think Punch recently did an interview with Curtis King and he said what I'm about to say. And a lot of my homies, even my homies who were Drake fans, felt exactly this way. You now made this coastal because for those who don't know, man, and look, even if you're not from the West Coast, I'm a 90s kid, 80s baby, 90s kid. Tupac he was like a hip hop god with a lower G. You feel me? It's just kind of sacred amongst hip hop and amongst hip hop heads. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I wasn't the biggest Tupac fan coming up. I wasn't. But I saw from Digital Underground to when he became a solo artist and he did Brenda's Had a Baby. I saw from Brenda's Had a Baby to him getting shot at Quad Studios, then being in jail and dropping Me Against the World, which I feel is one of his best albums lyrically, then being in jail over the SA case, let's put it like that, and then getting out of jail, joining Death Row, and then boom, he just explodes. Being in movies from Juice up until gang related. Tupac was, man, that dude was dang near mythical at this point. Like, he has his own lore. The Tupac lore is heavy and it's real. I just thought it was a bad move because he made this coastal now. As a West Coast person, that's part of the reason why I didn't like it. Call me biased all you want, but that's just what it is. You gonna take the voice of Tupac to diss Kendrick when the last time we heard Tupac's voice was when Kendrick used it on To Pimp a Butterfly, and that was a real interview that he was able to use. He got permission to use from the family and from the state to use it, and he put together in a very creative way, like it was an interview, which was super dope. Now, I'm not gonna say this wasn't creative. This was very creative. This was very witty. This is very troll-like. But I just thought that if you didn't ask permission to do this, which we know he didn't, this was very disrespectful to do. And then you took Snoop's voice. Now, Snoop reaction to this was very corporate Snoop. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I thought Snoop was gonna have a stronger reaction to it. I thought he was gonna kind of ride and be like, nah, you don't do that, bruh. You don't do that. As a hip hop legend, I thought he was going to do that. As a West Coast hip hop legend, I thought he was going to do that. As somebody who knew Tupac, even though when Tupac passed away, him and Snoop wasn't on the best of terms, I just thought Snoop was going to respond in a way where he kind of checked Drake over this, but he didn't. He was very corporate with it. You know, you did what? You did with who? You know, I was kind of shocked by that. I was kind of like, dog, is Snoop compromised? Like, what's going on here? I was very taken back by that. I didn't like it for that reason. Beat banging, like I said, witty, all of that, clever. But as a person from a West Coast, and like I said, call me biased all you want, I thought this was highly disrespectful. And not only did I think it was disrespectful, but a lot of other artists from the West Coast thought it was disrespectful. You saw how people responded online who grew up during the Tupac era, who were hip hop heads, who I thought, they thought it was corny. And I kind of felt that way too, especially using AI. I felt like, as funny and trolling as this was something that I thought that he paid the price for later on down the line with the way the pop out was organized. This was a jumping off point for that. And Punch from TDE basically confirmed that thought when he was talking to Curtis King, because he said he felt this was Drake's first mistake and biggest mistake because he united the coast from this, and he did. And for those, just to bring this up, Drake did have a show scheduled in Oakland. He had a show. I literally remember when this dropped, I went to his website and I saw he had that show scheduled. All of a sudden, that show disappeared from his site, which was smart. I just knew at the time when I heard this, I was like, oh man, it might be difficult for old boy to come back out to the city. He might have to avoid California for a while. That's what I was thinking. So like I said, man, I didn't really appreciate him using AI for the simple fact that in hip hop, we're trying to fight against, and I say we because we're part of hip hop culture, but the artists were trying to fight against the corporate entities or labels trying to use AI or introduce it to the public in a way that they think will be beneficial. Remember when Timberland said something or tried to do something and people rejected that immediately, like, nah, we not here for that, my boy. So for Drake to be a person to co-sign hip hop, and I think Curtis King did a very good job around this time, kind of breaking down the implications of the one of the biggest artists in the world co-signing the fact that AI could be a tool that could be used. You know, for Drake to be a person who's coming off now as to be so much fighting for the power of artists, that move right there could literally change the industry in a negative way moving forward, and I would take away the power from artists already from what it is now. So that's where I left off with this, y'all. I really didn't appreciate him doing this. I expected more from Snoop, but then again, you know, is a person who he's an uncle. You know, he took on that role. I don't think he wanted to involve himself in it. He just wanted to allow it to play out the way it did without giving any too much voice or involvement with it. Um, so I guess, but I just knew that this this wasn't gonna be good. I have a homie who is in the industry. I'm gonna put it like that. Who's in the industry on the West Coast, and I remember asking him, you know, about how some artists felt about it, and that he knows. And I don't want to say those artists' name, but he was saying that they didn't like it. They immediately was like, "Oh, he trying to diss the coast. Oh, that's what he doing. Okay, all right, that's what this is about." So this is a big mistake on his part. So Drake already made two mistakes. You brought up Whitney, and then you made this coastal. How do we move on from here? What is going to be the next move? And we'll discuss that on the next episode of this series, because the next episode, we talk about Euphoria. So I thank y'all so much for tuning in to this episode. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. We're about to get into Euphoria, right? And we're about to get into, because I believe when Taylor Made drop and then Euphoria drop, that's probably the best week in hip hop history. We have never experienced anything like that. It will go down in the history books, not only in hip hop history, but music history, of two of the biggest artists exchanging songs in a battle in a way we've never seen it before. And I can't wait to get into it. So the next episode is Euphoria. Let me know what you think, man. Please follow me on all my social medias. Check the links in the description for the previous episodes, and let's chop it up in the comments. I'll see you on the next one. This is your boy Raynell Jamal. Peace.